Okay, welcome then to this session on supporting systematic reviews. This is part one, so the first of two parts covering this matter. So in this 60-minute session, we'll introduce you to the concepts of searching the healthcare literature to support systematic reviews, from the initial framing of a question to demonstrating a search using PICO, searching for both keywords and subject terms for CINAHL and MEDLINE on the new EBSCOhost interface. And I appreciate some of you may not have yet transitioned or migrated to the new platform, so it may be quite new to you. Others are already using it, so you may see additional features that you're not aware of currently or have not yet been enabled. But we'll go through the front end as it is at the moment, and of course, if you've got any questions about the back end and certain functionality you switch on, we can discuss that at another time, or you can at least put that in the Teams chat and I can follow up with you. So part two, we'll look at the processing of search results using the personal folders and exporting to bibliographic software. So for those who've not met me before or attended one of my sessions previously, I'm Richard Crooks. I work for the EBSCO Customer Training Services team. I'm based in the East Midlands in the UK, and I'm a senior customer training specialist. I typically support customers' accounts in the UK, Ireland, and also the Nordics as well. I'm a chartered librarian by profession, having previously worked as a medical librarian and also in related roles within the National Health Service in England, and now being with EBSCO for about 14 years. So glad you could join us. Welcome to the session this afternoon, wherever you're calling in from. So in terms of the objectives for this session, I hope that by the end of this webinar, you'll be able to describe the key steps in searching in support of systematic reviews. And I appreciate we have a number of expert librarians who've been doing this for maybe years on the call. But we'll go through the basics initially and then move on to the actual live demonstration. You'll also be able to plan an appropriate search strategy using the PICO framework. We have the T element of PICO there, by the way, which is the time span or type of study, also factored as well. And we also have the option to locate and use methodological search filters. So I hope you'll be made more aware of those, that they're available also. And you'll be able to find further support information for using EBSCO's research databases. So whether you're using CINAHL, MEDLINE, or some of the more academic or even corporate databases, this may also be applicable to some degree as well. So again, there's ample support material available, and no doubt there'll be more to come as well with the new interface already up and running. So in terms of the first steps or the introduction, what is a systematic review? Just a recap. Basically, we're looking at a review of a clearly formulated question that uses systematic and explicit methods to identify, select, and quickly appraise relevant research and to collect and analyze data from the studies that are included in the review. So I've highlighted the key elements in particular for this session. So looking at a clearly formulated question and using systematic and explicit methods to identify relevant research. And that's what we're going to focus on. We're not looking at the process of quickly appraising or screening results at this time. We are looking at the searching aspect in terms of supporting this. So with that in view, to set the scene then, the goal, of course, in supporting systematic reviews is that users are attempting to identify all studies that can meet the eligibility criteria. Some would argue it may be the majority, maybe that's not possible, but obviously the goal is to do this, to find what's out there based on the eligibility criteria, and that, of course, also is determined partly by the research question itself. In addition to that, then, we have to obviously appreciate the key points regarding the search steps in terms of identifying what's out there. So the first thing, of course, and you would obviously be involved with this in consulting reviewers and those who request such support, understand the actual research question. What is the review attempted to answer or to identify, to find out, etc.? Then there's also the matter of turning that question into a viable, suitable search strategy, and that would be using a combination of keywords or free text and the control vocabularies, the subject headings that you'll find in MEDLINE, such as the mesh terms, and within CINAHL, the Nursing and Health Database, the CINAHL subject headings. And of course, you may have also similar searches for APA PsycInfo, in which case you'll be looking at the APA thesaurus. So a combination of keyword or free text searching with the use of subheadings from the control vocabularies, which is what we'll do today in the live demonstration, and also factor in the truncation, the wildcards, and proximity search operators to enhance information retrieval. So there's a specific syntax used on the EBSCO interface. Some of you are already using this, may be familiar with this. This may be a refresher, but we'll look at that as well and seek to incorporate some of those elements in the actual live demonstration on the new platform. So this is our research question. So I'm just going to read it as it is and then comment. So in adult cancer patients experiencing fatigue, what is the effect of meditation compared with standard care on quality of life within 6 months? Now, you'll notice I'm using the 5 elements of PICO, as it were. So we're looking at adult cancer patients who are experiencing fatigue. So that's the patient or population group with the problem. And then what is the effect of meditation? That is our intervention compared with standard care. That is the comparison, of course, and then on quality of life, which is the outcome. And then we have the time span, the time frame within 6 months. Now, it doesn't mean we're going to search for everything that's listed here, as we'll make clear in the next table. So we have the framework here. So I've got the 5 elements. Typically, you have PICO. We've just got the time or type of study included here as well. And this is partly with reference to our PICO search app, which is now included in EBSCOhost and also available for the EBSCO Discovery Service. So we have the initial line, which again is those elements from the search question. So adult cancer patients with fatigue, meditation, and so on. And then beneath that, in the lowercase italicized terms, we have these are the free text or keyword search terms. So in listing these terms, we're really trying to understand what would typically be used, commonly used by researchers, clinicians, editors in terms of identifying relevant content. So cancer, of course, would be pretty obvious. Neoplasms, oncology, we've got tumor, we've got alternate spelling as well, which we should factor in. Malignancy, then we've got the likes of fatigue generally, and then tiredness, lethargy. So synonyms that we should be exploring to find what's out there in the literature. And so on with intervention, you've got meditation, which is also the key intervention, but it could also refer to mindfulness therapy, breathing techniques, relaxation techniques, yoga, etc. Now, we won't do a specific search for standard care. That's kind of implied when we explore the intervention. Outcome, of course, is the quality of life. That also may refer to quality of living or life quality. It could be well-being, as 2 words or 1 word, etc. And also, we won't factor in the time frame here within 6 months specifically. Obviously, we could delve deeper in the results when we've retrieved them to look at that aspect in particular if necessary. And below in the final line there, the final row there, you'll see in uppercase other terms. And as you might guess, these are the subject terms. Now, these will, of course, differ between databases. So, for example, obviously you have the mesh terms, the medical subject headings, and the CINAHL headings. And both originate with, of course, from the National Library of Medicine in the US, but there still may be variations of those terms, different renderings. Likewise, if you use other databases, their control vocabularies may have different expressions of those terms. Some will have more, some will have less, etc. Now, I've also been in discussions with other librarians in the past, and some will actually approach this from the point of view of running a subject search first, because from that they will then gain a better understanding as to what terms are used in the literature. So again, you may do this, you may reverse this process, you may start off with the mesh terms, for example, from MEDLINE or CINAHL headings, and then start the keyword searching after that. Now I'm going to take a standard approach, which is really to do the keyword free text searching first, to explore the literature that way, and then combine it with the subject search. So again, any comments, questions about the process, please call today in this webinar. So just to clarify then, in terms of the 2 aspects of searching by keywords. So there's some debate or discussion, and I know at least one university that I did some training for, they tend to educate their postgraduate PhD students to do a general unqualified search and combine it with a subject search. So in terms of a general unqualified search, in terms of supporting system reviews, you have to be obviously aware of the background process that's going on. So if you do a keyword search or free text search within the CINAHL database, it will search all fields, and that by that I mean default fields as shown here. So by default, when you enter keyword search terms, then it will run that search against the title field, the abstract field, the subheadings as well, in terms of word indexing, the PubMed ID, if appropriate, of course, digital object identifier, and author fields. So by default, when you run a keyword search, this is how it's searching. If you compare that MEDLINE that has additional fields that are searched simultaneously, along with the things like title abstract, mesh terms, author fields, and so on. So just bear in mind, in terms of not qualifying the search by a field code like title or abstract, these are the default fields that you're searching across. Now, if you want more information on that, more detailed information, we have a link there which provides access to documentation about the fields that are searched using the all fields drop-down list. In that case, this is the FAQ, sorry, but we also have the database help files available, and for each database, the default unqualified search may differ. So if, for example, you search on API SecInfo, then again, you may be searching other fields in addition to the ones I've just mentioned here. So the point is that when you searched each database, they will search by default in different ways. Some will be common, some will not be so common. Now, in addition, and you can see again the all fields option on this is the advanced search screenshot with the drop-down menu for all fields indicates the default fields for searching. One thing also to note with that as well is the application of search modes. So if you've done an unqualified search, such as I just mentioned, then this will also impact the search results because we have different ways of searching. Now, this is located within the search options tab on the advanced search page. We'll see that live in a moment. And you can see here in this screenshot, proximity is enabled. And that's the most common search mode for searching within the EBSCO databases. Now, these search modes can be edited. For example, proximity can be adjusted. So currently, the default setting for searching with the proximity search mode enabled is to find terms where they appear within near 5 words or less of each other. So if you put in childhood obesity, it would look for childhood near 5 words or less of obesity, and also obesity near 5 words or less of childhood. So the terms could be in any order, but within a specified word range. Now that can be changed, it can be customized. I know, for example, with the EBSCO Discovery Service in NHS in England, they have rendered that as phrase, they've changed the label, and that now has within zeros. So that means it treats the words exactly as a phrase with the words entered in the and searched in the order they're entered. So that can be done in the admin tool, but right now, this is the default setting, and this is what we should see in the live demonstration. Find all my search terms simply is using the AND operator in the background. So again, using the same example, childhood obesity, it would find childhood and obesity, not necessarily where the terms appear together, but both words would have to appear somewhere in the reference to retrieve those records, etc. And find any is the OR operator. I won't go into details about the other options. There is a link there available to detail that, and that link is also accessible through the embedded link that you see highlighted here, where it says Learn More at EBSCO Connect. But again, this has some impact and does have impact on the keyword search results, so you'd have to be mindful of that and how that's set up in the background. Likewise, we also have a further option, expanders. These are used to broaden your search results, again, in relation to keyword searching, but 2 of these actually use the subject indexes as well. So you can see in this screenshot, we've got apply current subjects selected, and what that will do is identify a concept based on your keyword search term, again, if it's unqualified, and then seek to definitive subject headings within the control vocabulary. So again, mesh terms, or it could be single subject headings, for example. So it's expand the results going beyond the unqualified search, the keyword search, to incorporate other records which based on the indexing of records that are associated with a particular concept. Similar to that, apply rated words is used in the thesaurus to identify any plurals or synonyms for the terms you enter. So for example, you may put child and it'll pick up children, possibly pediatrics as well. Also, search expands the search to actually search within the documentation index. So for example, a PDF, HTML content as well, it's indexed, could be a book chapter, it could be full text article, etc. So it expands the results to search within the document itself. So some of these aspects will be really more to do with general searching, perhaps in support of an assignment for a clinician or a nurse, for example, and less so perhaps with systematic reviews. But of course, you need to be aware that they're there, especially if you're doing the general unqualified search and these are enabled. Again, there's some adjustments that can be made to these. Some of these expanders can be hidden. Some of these may be defaulted to on or off. And this screenshot, this one is on. But again, you've got the EBSCO Connect link there to explore that further and the link to the EBSCO Connect help page for this as well. Now, aside from that, that's really relevant to general unqualified searching. You may opt for the, I would say, almost traditional way of approaching this with a title or abstract search. Now, for those of you who've been on sessions before on CINAHL and MEDLINE with me, you may have noted that this has now changed. So whereas before we said title and abstract, with the XB field code, it now specifies title or abstract. It did that in any case. There was some discussion about how that's used, but essentially, if you use the drop-down field code shown here, XB, it will search for your keyword search terms within either field, okay, simultaneously. So it doesn't mean that the terms have to appear in both fields, but it will search them simultaneously. And this is kind of what's been asked for over the years. I've been with EBSCO, as I said, for over 14 years now, and I know this was not always available. This is a recent feature of the last year or so, maybe 18 months, but actually launched officially with the new interface. So title or abstract simultaneous title or abstract searching is available with using the XB field code, either from the drop-down menu as shown there, or you can actually display it as a command line search as shown there. So XB, heart attack, or myocardial infarction, etc. would do the same thing. Okay, so again, this may be the preferred option for searching in support area specific review, and you would then look to combine that with the subject headings as well. And we're going to explore that approach in this session this afternoon. Again, you have a copy of the slide deck to review that. Again, some of you may have been exploring this already. Some of you may have migrated several months ago to the new platform. So before we get into the live demonstration to run through that search question, just to add also the syntax that's available for the EBSCOhost interface, important to use what's applicable to EBSCOhost. I have seen cases in the past where other platform syntax has been used and it may work, but the results will not be accurate. So stick to this. Truncation, that means you can truncate words like diabetes to pick up diabetic. You can also insert the asterisk, which is the truncation symbol, between terms as well. So I've got ventilator pneumonia there with the asterisk between two words, both words. That would also pick up ventilator associated pneumonia and ventilator acquired pneumonia. And if you think of cognitive therapy, you might have cognitive behavioral therapy or cognitive behavior therapy. So if you put cognitive asterisk therapy, you would find all three variations. We also have exact phrase searching, which is using the double quotation marks. So you've got that option. So with influenza vaccine enclosed with quotation marks, that will find at least one occurrence where that phrase, those terms appear next to each other, as shown on this screenshot. Okay. Wildcard, we have the single character replacement. So for organization, for example, you can place the S and the Z with the question mark. It will find both variations. Likewise, regarding gender, you can use for women or men or man. You can replace the vowel, the A or the E, and bring back both variations. Okay. We also have alternate spelling. So it's a difference from using the wildcard. The question mark is the hash wildcard, and you may, if you speak to any of my US colleagues or watch tutorials where they may have mentioned this, they may refer to the pound sign. It does not refer to pound sterling over here. It refers to the hash wildcard, that little cross section thing that you have. And if you insert that before the E in pediatrics after the P, it'll find both US and UK spelling. If you insert it after the O for behavior, for example, and before the R, that will find behavior, etc., in both in UK, US English, as it were. So again, we've got documentation in support of this, gives you some more examples of how to use that. And that's a good question from Elaine there. Is ventilator asterisk pneumonia the same as doing ventilator N1 pneumonia? Actually, it wouldn't be, because N is near, which means it's in any order. You're more likely to put W, or W's, W probably. Yeah, W, it would be W1. One word or less. Yeah, that's a good point. But it would be W, not N, because N is in any order. Okay. And also for Nicola here, is the asterisk in between the keywords necessary? We have proximity as our search default, so I would expect it to pick up words in between the words I've not used. Okay, yeah. So this is for Nicola. Is the asterisk in between the keywords necessary? I would say, I mean, again, the example there, it could be useful if you're exploring terms which, have several variations. Again, ventilator pneumonia, I use the example, it's on the slide, and also cognitive therapy as well. But you've got proximity as our default, search default, so I would expect it to pick up words in between the keywords. Yeah, I mean, it's true. So again, if you're using the search mode, the proximity search mode, and not qualifying that search, then in the current scenario, it would still probably pick up those other words. Okay, so so going back a step to proximity search mode, it is by default near 5 words or less. So if you put in ventilator pneumonia, it would certainly search for ventilator near 5 words or less, but it also search for pneumonia ventilator. So again, yes, you could use that. But going back to Elaine's comment there, strictly speaking, it's ventilator acquired pneumonia, ventilator associated pneumonia, ventilator pneumonia, not pneumonia ventilator, etc. Unless, of course, you want to search for pneumonia ventilation. So again, I take your point there, yeah. But it would pick up those terms. You're right. And then, Irina, to follow on, would it have to be? So I think you're implying the use of double quotation marks, right? Ventilator asterisk pneumonia. You can try that, but I haven't specified that here. But again, I have used a combination of the double quotation marks and the asterisk before as well in searches as well. So again, sometimes, again, you may be running different iterations of the search and you may explore some of these features to see how they work, etc. Yeah, but it would do that. I mean, ventilator asterisk pneumonia would pick up those variations. Okay, if you use the proximity search, then obviously you're relying on the actual configuration for that search. Again, N5 is the default configuration. NHS England, for their discovery service, they have W0. They've changed it in the background. So again, some of your institutions that you work for, the library services, you may decide we actually feel it works better this way, and you may change that to suit your institution, as it were. Okay, so yeah, thanks for that input. It's very useful. Okay, so just moving on then. So again, we actually come into this basically, the proximity or precision searching with near or within. So just to clarify this, near finds words where they appear within a specified word range, regardless of the order in which they appear. So again, using gallbladder disease, could also be the disease of the gallbladder, then gallbladder N5 disease would do that. It would find those words within a specified word range, which is 5 in any order. Okay, going back to my previous example, childhood obesity, if you use the within operator, it finds the words in the order that you enter them. So childhood within 8 words or less of obesity, but not vice versa. So again, the proximity search for search mode uses near in the background by default, but it can be adjusted to within if necessary. Otherwise, you can use the command line query, N5, W8, etc. on the interface. So it's the same. These are the same features. The truncation and proximity searching is the same as it was on classic interface for EBSCOhost. There is one difference though. With the truncation, it has to be a minimum of 3 characters now. Okay, so you must have 3 characters before the truncation. So, word like diabetes, for example, physio, and so on. But in the past, that wasn't the case. So I think in most cases, you wouldn't probably put 2 words or less. It would be 3 or more, etc. But that's the only change with the truncation. But again, the proximity search operators are the same. And you'll see that multiple terms can be used on either side of the operator. So if you're looking at influenza vaccine, but you want to extend it to flu vaccine or vaccinations for flu, then you can adjust this. So flu or influenza, near 3 words or less of vaccine, but I've truncated it. So that could be vaccine, vaccines, vaccination, vaccinations, or vaccinated. Okay, there's a lot of scope for searching in this way. Okay, and obviously you may be running different variations, iterations of the search and adjusting it. And again, I'll show you how you can edit search streams in the search history that we have now as well. I am going to go to CINAHL primarily for this session. But the principles that we're looking at, including what we've just seen, will be applicable to MEDLINE. Of course, there is a difference between a general unqualified search with MEDLINE and CINAHL, and also they use 2 different indexes as well. So let me share my screen with you, and you should now see the new interface, so on the advanced search screen. So this is my default landing page. It may well be the same for yourselves. We have a lot of academic institutions represented here. You may have a different profile for your postgraduates, by the way, but what we're looking at is really something beyond that level, looking more toward the postgraduate PhD researchers. Although I hear some undergraduates are beginning to learn about systematic reviews as well, so that may change. But again, for most, for yourselves as searchers, evidence searchers, you'll be using the advanced search page, which is the way it looks now on the live new interface. So just to clarify again, we've got multiple rows here. I know at least one of the persons who registered for this session indicated that they can only see one line of search, or so one search box, which may well be the basic search screen. But we have advanced search, and you can add more rows here. Now I've got to think if it's 7 or 12 now. I can't remember what it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, I think it's actually 12 now. You can add 12. So you can enter your terms line by line, use the Boolean operators here. You've got field codes here as well if you need to use them, but you have got the scope to increase, to enter line by line searches in this way and combine them in that way if you prefer. Okay, but the default is 3 as shown here. Also, we have the search options displayed below. Again, you'll see proximity is the default search mode. I don't think I've changed this for this demonstration site. So it is the standard approach. And then the other search modes are there. And again, if you want more information, likewise with expanders, just click on the EBSCO Connect link, and that will take you to the help page for that particular area, and it'll explain in more detail what each of these search modes is doing, and then you can decide yourselves how you want to adjust that if necessary. Some of these can be hidden by like smart text searching, which relies on inserting a paragraph of text or an abstract to run a search based on the keywords there. If you feel that's not useful, that can be removed. We've got natural language search, which I won't go into today, but those are there. But by default, it's proximity. And again, I would say 99% of accounts that I see use proximity as a default search mode for unqualified searching. So we've got those there. We've also got the drop-down menu here, and you'll see title or abstract. A couple months ago, that said title and abstract. It's been changed to or to better reflect what it really does, to avoid any confusion. So that's welcome. I mentioned PICO earlier. I'm not going to go into that today, but you'll see here we have got the PICO guided search here. So this is going to mirror essentially what we do on the interface itself directly, but this is like a shortcut, etc. And again, there's more information on using that particular feature. So that's kind of more of a basic level of searching in a sense. It's still using the PICO framework, but perhaps a way to introduce it to your users, colleagues, etc., who are not so familiar with the framework searching and so on. But we are going to run the search here now, and I am going to incorporate some of the elements I mentioned. So we begin with the first part of PICO, which of course relates to adult cancer patients with fatigue. So I'm going to start off by looking at the condition, of course, cancer. I am going to truncate here. So that's cancers or cancerous, etc. I'll combine it with oncology. It could be oncologic. So I'm going to also truncate that as well. So it could be oncology, oncologic, etc. I will add neoplasms as an alternative expression also. And also I'll add tumor, but because of the change in spelling, the alternate spelling, US, UK, English, I'm going to add the hash wildcard and put tumor there, etc. So I'm going to do this as a title or abstract search, so XB. So I could enter XB before this in uppercase, or I can just choose from the drop down here and run this search. Now, when I do this, some of you may have not seen this before, and it's been out since late October, but we have the search history now displayed on this screen. So you have the advanced search, and this is cleared now because I've got the clear find field after searching on. So it clears my search boxes, ready for the next search. And I've got the search history there, which you can hide, as you can see, and focus on the results. So you have the option, but it does displays the syntax, including the truncation and so on. The search options are still indicated. So these are overridden by the use of the field code, by the way. So although they're there, they are overridden. The search results are the hit count, and also the database is given. And you'll see the tools menu here allows you to edit that search. So if you need to make any changes to this, you can do so. We'll just explore that a bit later. Okay, and of course, if I'm making any mistakes and you identify them, point them out to me, and we can make the change in the search string. So that's the first element. That's the title or abstract search, the keyword search. We're now going to move on to the subject search. So for that, I'm going to click New Search. I'm going to go to the center headings, and I'm going to enter in cancer here. Now, that's my way of exploring the thesaurus. So I don't know if cancer is a heading or not at this stage. I can click enter, hit enter, and you can see the prompt is advising us to use neoplasms. So we'll click on the term neoplasms. You'll see there's a scope note It gives you a definition of the term. It may indicate other terms that you could use, etc. You also see what it's used for. So if I did a similar browse for tumor or tumors, it would also direct me to neoplasms. Okay, so I can select that term. Okay, and you'll see it selected below, and also the explode option is included. So I include these other options, cancer-associated fibroblasts, childhood neoplasms as well. I can also select from the related headings here, like cancer fatigue, cancer survivors, and oncology here. So you can see the related headings, I can select those, and also the tree under diseases, you'll see neoplasms and so on. Okay, so you have those terms there, and I can go back to the top of the screen, and if I click add now, you'll see those terms are selected and the query is put together. So these are the CINAHL subheadings, and you do this, the equivalent for this in MEDLINE. So obviously in supporting assistant review, you're not typically going to cross-search both databases simultaneously. You run the search in one database, and then you adapt the search for say, MEDLINE. So again, you might not have all these subheadings in MEDLINE. Neoplasms might be there, but it may not have cancer fatigue. I'm not sure. I've not checked that recently. But these, you can tell these are the subheadings. They've got the MH field code, which again, you'll see that in the drop-down menu, just to remind you that exact subject heading. And the plus sign indicates this term includes narrow terms, etc. as well. So if I click search now, that's going to add it to my search history on screen. Okay. And since these are like terms, obviously the keyword search for cancer, etc. combined, I can combine with the actual subject search. So I can select both sets and combine them with a Boolean OR, and then you'll see those appearing in the top search box, and I can click search. So I'm grouping the initial P element together as one search, the title object search combined with the subject search. Now you may wonder, what about fatigue? Okay, so I'm going to also search for fatigue separately in this instance. So bear with me as I do that, and I think there's some comments or questions coming up. Okay, so from Claire here, we have researchers who used to save their search history on the classic version of EBSCO by clicking on Save Search Alerts. Is there an equivalent way of doing so that the set of searches are saved together in this new interface, i.e. the set of search terms? Okay, so they can be rerun at a later date as they were in the classic version. So I'll show you at the moment where it is. There are some additional features coming for the search history, but I'll show you how to download the search as it is, and also where you can find the saved search as well. Okay, so there are some more developments coming for the interface as well. So thanks for that. So just park that thought at the moment, and we'll come back to that. In fact, we may need to cover that more in the next session, but I may just preview that because also we're looking at managing the processing results. But as that's come up, I may mention that in this session. So let us go through the search first. So the next step is, of course, to look at fatigue. So that's an aspect of the P element. So we're putting fatigue here. Okay, we've also got exhausted or exhaustion. So we can put in exhaust. That's exhaust or exhausted, exhaustion, etc., etc. Exertion could be also. So we could also truncate that for exerted. We may also have tiredness or tire. So we could put in, I'll put tire this time. So it could be tired, tiredness, etc. And we also have, let's see, what else did I have before here? Let me just check this. And also lethargy as well. So, or lethargic. So again, these are all synonyms that we could be using in relation to fatigue. And again, we're going to explore the title object fields for records indexed in CINAHL. Now, also another thing about title object searching, it means that as we're using this, and I'm sure you're very much aware of this, we're also ensuring that we're accessing records that may not be indexed in CINAHL. So we call those pre-CINAHL records. So in other words, they're included in the database, but they've not had CINAHL headings assigned to them. So by using the title abstract search or general unqualified keyword search, we're still retrieving records that could be relevant, even though they're not indexed. So again, we're kind of looking at the best of both worlds, covering our bases, doing keyword searching combined with the more authoritative subject searching as well. So I think we'll leave that as it is, and I'll click search here. So that will bring up the title object search for fatigue. And then what I'm going to do is then the equivalent subject search for that as well. So again, I'm going to click new search, and then we'll go to CINAHL headings, and I'm going to clear this, and I'll just search for fatigue. Okay, now we did select cancer fatigue earlier, so if you see that, we won't select that again, but you will see fatigue here. I can select this term. Again, there's a description or a scope note. I can choose fatigue. I've got exertion as a related heading, so I can include that as well. I can scroll down through the subject tree to see if there's anything else that may be of interest. So at this time, I'm going to check here, and probably not at this time. You got sleepiness, which is probably not that too general. So I'm going to just jump to the top, and then I can add to the search, and you'll see we've got both terms there. So let me just run this search. In fact, there may be something else I wanted to add here as well. Did I include it? Mental fatigue also I want to include here. So let's go back. Okay, so I've added that separately, so I'm just putting or here for now. I should have selected that before, but we've got all three now, and we can run the search for these three terms. Okay, so again, you'll see them listed here. Okay, and we've got the results there. So what I'm going to do now with these two sets, the title object search for fatigue and the subject search, combine these two together, again with OR. Okay, and then what I'll do here, once I've got those grouped together, I'll combine with cancer. So this will complete the first element of PICO in relation to the adult cancer patients. Now you may wonder, what about adults? I haven't searched for adults yet. What I'll do, I'll apply a filter for that aspect. Again, we can discuss that as necessary, but there is an option to filter according to adult population group. So we've got our initial set related to the P element. You'll notice the search history is displayed in reverse chronological order. We can resort this, and I'll do so a bit later, but you can select the ID option, that link above the set number, and that will resort for you. So if I click on that now, you'll just see a preview of that. So you can follow the sequence of your search. I'll leave it as it is for now by default. And then we're going to move on to the next element, which will be, in fact, let me just change that, because I realize now, and someone's probably commented on that already, it should be and, not or. Yes, thank you, Elaine. I just suddenly realized that. So actually, it's a good opportunity now for me to show you what you can do in terms of using the tool. So as was pointed out, and I just realized myself, this should be and, not or. So what I can do, probably just as easy, just to delete this line, okay, and you get confirmation, to check, do you want to do this? I'll delete this, okay, and then I'll go back and choose S3 and S6, and this time combine with and. So I'm glad everyone's watching closely and seeing also how you can, overturn your mistakes, as it were. So, and then click search here. So we won't have 1 million results now as we had before. Okay, 23,000, so a lot less. So well spotted, and I've adjusted that now as it should be. So the next element, of course, is looking at meditation. So again, we're going to use a combination of the terms. So meditation, it could be meditate, of course. So we're going to truncate that. So that's meditate or meditated or meditation. We've got mindful, so it could be mindfulness. So I'm going to put mindful with an asterisk. Also breath, it could be breathing. So I'm going to truncate this as well. Or yoga, or guided imagery also is an option, and that's using double quotation marks as well. So for exact phrase searching. Okay, so this is the search, and we'll run it again as a title abstract search here, and then click search here. And then, of course, we're going to do the equivalent as the intervention for the CINAHL subheading. So again, click new search, go to subheadings, clear this, and then we'll put in meditation. And as you might guess, there is a CINAHL heading on meditation. I would click on it first, select it, check the scope note, you can see what it's used for, and then check the subject tree. You've got meditation there. We've also got guided imagery here as well, so we're going to include that well. In fact, we've got relaxation techniques there also included. So, and notice it expands also the subheadings if you want to apply those as well. So, for example, for relaxation techniques, let's see, we've got guided imagery selected as well. Let's see any more. We can go for mind-body techniques, which does include, I think, yeah, guided imagery, and then meditation again there. Yoga also we can include as well, and with exploded it will include other terms as well. I think we can see that. Not yet. Okay, so I can just see that. No, we'll leave that as it is. Okay, so that's those selected. See anything else? So what we should do now is add these. So I'm going to jump to the top of the screen and click add. Should now see these listed. Okay, so if we're satisfied with that, with those subject terms, we'll click search here. And again, within the search history open, we can combine the two, and as we should do now, use or, since they're like terms, but again, either title object search or the subject search, and click search. We said at the outset we wouldn't search specifically for standard care. That's kind of implied. So the next element we'll look at, and the final element really, is outcome, which relates to quality of life. So we'll do that now. And again, this time I'm going to use the near operator here. So for quality of life, I'm going to put in quality N1 life. So it could be life quality or quality of life, for example. I will also add QOL as the abbreviation. Also well-being. It could be one word like this, or it could be two words. It could be being N1 well, for example. So that'd be well-being as one word, or being well or well-being as two separate words. And likewise with living quality or quality of living, I will also add living N1 quality as well. Okay, so that's quality of living or living quality. So again, you make some adjustments based on your experience, etc. Again, the first iteration. Again, I will just show you also when I run this how you can adjust that if you need to. If you feel that these numbers are too low, it should be 2 words or less, for example. If you click search here, we just run this. And within the search history, if we go to S11, set 11, let me just zoom in a little bit, maybe a bit too small there. We go to the tools menu, you'll see you've got edit search details. So I've wanted to adjust this, and just for the sake of illustration, I will. You can see here, if I change this to 2, it may not make much sense to do that, but I'm going to just illustrate this. I don't think it does any harm. Then you can see I've done that for these sets. So I've adjusted it here. I can update the search. Click continue. Click the cross to remove that and go back to the search. And you'll see the adjusted search string. I'm not sure what it got before, but you'll see N2 now. So it's quite easy to edit the search string. We've seen how to delete a set. You can also go in and edit these sets as well. Again, edit search details. Click edit search. And then you can change the string here. Add other terms, remove some, add quotation marks, remove them, whatever you need to do there. Okay, so those options are there for editing the search before you complete it, etc. Also, if you delete a search string, if you've duplicated a search string, for example, and you delete it, the numbers will be renumbered automatically for you. Okay, so the final element we look before we combine them all together is the matter of quality of life. So again, I'm going to click new search, go to subheadings, and you would expect this would be a key subheading from the control vocabulary, which of course it is. You've got quality of working life there, quality of adjusted life years, and so on. In this instance, I just generally prefer to click on the actual term, the lead term, and explore that further. As you can see, the related headings, cost of living doesn't really relate to this search. And then we have the subject tree, the single subject tree. Again, you see the hierarchy of terms, and you see quality of life is already selected here. That would include comfort, occupation as well. Also includes quality of working life with the explode option on. And we may see some others that could be of interest here, possibly or possibly not. Again, if you did this search in Medline, you might find other terms that could be useful. So I'm going to jump to the top and run the search here, add to the search, sorry, and then click search. And I think we may have another couple of comments coming in as well. Okay, question from Irina. Is truncation both at the start and end of the word still supported? For example, with ethic. I don't think we support the truncation at the start of a term, from what I recall. I don't believe we, I don't think we use truncation at the start. I can have a look at that, but I don't think we use it at the start of a term. It's at the end of the term or between terms, but not at the start of the term. But I can refer to the documentation to verify that. So maybe you're thinking of another platform. unless you've used it on Classic before. Okay. All right, Arena, thank you. Okay, so now we can combine the final set there. So I'm not looking at the time frame in this instance. I'm just going to the outcome here, S11, S12 with OR. I'm not sure this privacy notice has been updated, so I'm just going to close that. I just noticed that appearing on screen. So combine these two. Okay, so what I'm going to do now to make it a bit easier, as this is still showing up in reverse chronological order, to see the sequence, if I click ID here, you'll see how we started from cancer, fatigue separately, and then we combine the two. Okay, let's see it. Yep. So it was S7. So that S7 is basically the set related to cancer patients with fatigue. Meditation, of course, is the intervention, and then quality of life is the outcome. So we can now combine set S7, S10, S13. Okay, so hopefully you agree that these are the sets I should be combining. And then we'll do that with and make sure there's nothing here to interfere. So again, if you haven't got the clear find field after searching feature on, you might find the set still remains, and that obviously will then interfere with the resultant set. So again, whether you have that enabled or you just click clear all, just make sure that these boxes are clear, and then combine with and here, and then you'll see that populate at the top anyway. Okay, and then search here. So this will then be the final set of results in this first search. Okay, and if you want to focus, we'll do that in a minute. We can scroll down now, and you can see the results here. Now I've got 559 records so far. You can see again we're still in CINAHL. Okay, and I did mention about limiting to adult patients. Now there's a shortcut to do that, and it does to be honest rely on the indexing of content, so it will have that impact. But to see that, if you go to all filters, and this will also be true of MEDLINE as well, the age filter. So again, many of you will be familiar with this from CINAHL on the Classic interface, and still are, and it's still there, but we have it here as well. So you can see adults there. So we are looking at adult patients. It could be, of course, a patient age range. It could be over 65s or over 80s, for example. So we can filter according to that group, but it is all adults at this time. And we haven't specified a gender either, though that's there as well. So we click apply here. Okay, and you see we're down to 238 records. Now, of course, we may also limit by language. So again, there's options to limit by language. If you're multilingual, of course, then that may be okay. You may not need to do that. Also, we have the machine translation for HTML articles for online full text that can be translated into English from other languages. So again, you've got those features there that you could use. English is here, and also you've got publication date as well. So again, you can choose that either from this drop down, or you can choose it from the result list itself. So for example, if we look at the last 10 years specifically, okay, you'll see 185 records. Okay. So again, that's essentially the process in using the search history in this fashion. So once you're satisfied with the search strategy, and now you want to look at the results, then obviously you can hide the search history in the background. So just collapse it. It's still there, but hidden, of course. So you can focus on the results. And once you've gotten a result like this, you may think, well, actually, the first record is very, very relevant to what we're looking for. And Sarah just pointed out, I don't seem to have that search history function. Right. So assuming, Sarah, that you're using this new interface, right? If you are, then this needs to be enabled for you. Okay. So what's happened, this feature, this functionality with the search history was rolled out at the end of October. So into November. It was live from the end of October, but it wasn't mandated that accounts had this switched on. So if you work for certain consortia, it may have been done for you. For certain accounts, for most accounts, it hasn't been enabled. So basically, it's there in the background. It's administered in EBSCO Experience Manager. So the default landing page is advanced search, and then you have to specify you want the search history shown for the result list. Okay, so again, that's something we can take offline if you like. So again, we can talk about that. You can speak to your local EBSCO account representative if you need this switched on, but it is available. Okay, so again, for some accounts, for example, if you're at a sixth form college in the UK or a higher education institution in other parts of Europe, and they're doing basic searching, then obviously they may not need this feature. But if you're a researcher and you're supporting various institutes yourselves or within an institute, then that's something which you probably do want to see. So again, it is available. It just needs to be enabled in EBSCO admin. So basically it works in conjunction with the advanced search interface where we started. It does not work with the basic search, which we often refer to as standard search. So it's designed to support really more advanced searching, such as supporting systematic reviews. Okay. So again, either speak to a local EBSCO account team, or you can contact me. I'll leave you my details at the end of the session if you need to email me about that, and I can put you in touch with them as needed. But it is available. Okay. So one comment that came up, of course. So let me just mention this first before we go any further. But if you have articles that are particularly relevant to the search, then obviously this is a good clue to where you might want to look further. So obviously you can explore the first article. This is very much related to what we're looking for. It's pretty current. It's published in August 2025. You can explore the abstract by expanding it. You see the key search terms are highlighted from this result, and also expanding the subject headings. You can see a lot of them there. There may be other subject terms you want to factor in the next iteration of this search. Likewise, you might find other keywords that you didn't factor originally that you might want to add to this search. Okay, and if it's available full text, of course, so much the better. For example, this one is available in PDF or online. So again, you may want to actually look at the article itself to see, are there other clues as to search terms that we should be using. So this is in HTML, and again, I mentioned this one, you can translate this. So if this was in French, for example, then you could translate that from French to English. So you have a variety of languages supported. These are provided by Microsoft, so the language itself is translated by Microsoft software, basically. So it's machine translation. So the good thing is that if you come across an HTML article, an online full text article, it is in another language, it is relevant to your search, then you can at least translate it into English, as it were, or preferred language. Okay. So again, it's worth looking at that. And of course, you can download as well this reference. We'll look at more exploring these tools in the next session as well. So I'm going to go back here. So again, I'm just going to resort these search history. Okay, so again, just checking the time here. I know we're a bit pushed for time now. So again, you've got options to explore the abstract. Okay, and then also the full text where available if necessary for other clues. And again, I'm not going to talk about saving them right now, but I will mention the search itself. So it was asked about saving search sets and so on. That is a feature that is coming. But right now, you can select these sets and you can download them. So we'll download up to 500 lines of sets. So they've got 16 here, and you can choose the format PDF, Word, CSV. So if you want a spreadsheet of this, then you can choose that option, XML and RTF. I'll just go up for RTF here and download it, and I'll show you what that looks like in a moment when that comes up. So I'm just going to save this file first of all, and then I will open it up. So I may need to drag this from my other monitor. So yeah, so if I just drag this across, this is the downloaded search history, right? So this is an RTF file. Obviously, you can save it in Word and so on. So that could be the default format you have, but you've got the query here, so the original query, and then you have this expanded query, which basically means when you see terms combined, like S2 or S1, it gives you the full list of terms that are combined here, as you see. Likewise, if you go further, you'll see these sets combined here, okay? So again, and then if we go to the final set here, I'm just going to scroll down to set 16. You can see it gives you the complete query expanded here, okay, with the results as well. Also gives you the publication date as well. So we've gone for the last 10 years, also factored into this. So again, that's the downloading the search from the search history itself. Now, while we've been doing this, what's also happened, it's been tracking this in recent activity as well. So I go to recent activity, the same search is also replicated here, as you see. Now, again, it's a reverse chronological order. So I can change this to the oldest, and I can also change the number of results per page. So I can see 20. So I can get the whole listing of the search here in this format as well. Okay, so I can actually go in, for example, and view the search details from here as well. So I go to search details, you get the combined query here. So I can cut and paste that back into CINAHL if I go back into it later on I can copy this to the clipboard. I can share it with a user. I can attempt to run it on MEDLINE, but of course, again, the indexing will be different, so we wouldn't necessarily recommend that. You need to adjust that. Okay, so that's this recent activity. Also, you'll note here, it does give you not only the search string, but also the date, the time, and also the results, plus the various elements that may impact the search itself. So if I scroll down further, you will see here we've got all adults and past 10 years also included there. So again, even on this in this area, you can also select and download the search. And again, you'll see here, download up to 500. So that's up to 500 lines. So you may have a 60-line search strategy that will handle that for you. Okay. So again, we get into more detail about that in the next session, part 2, which looks at processing results as well. So I'm just going to go into this now, back into it. But I'm very conscious I didn't cover the search filters. So what I might do here is just jump back to my PowerPoint. We've had the live demonstration, again, the clarification of the actual search itself, the PICO search, as it were, problem, the patient element, etc., the intervention, and then the outcome. Okay, so that's just the process we took essentially, and a screenshot of the search strings. We do have these 2 guides on CINAHL and MEDLINE, so it gives you the shortcuts, the use of the syntax, the use of field codes like XB, the subject headings, etc., the use of wildcards, etc. It details that with examples for the interface. Okay, so these are up to date. And I also want to mention this, and I will come back to this. I'll come back to the screen in a moment when I look at the recent activity. The methodological search filters that can also be used. So if you want to see what's out there, perhaps with results based on more high quality evidence, then you can use these filters applied to a search. So we've got evidence-based practice. Okay, that basically limits your search results to articles that have the special interest field for the value of evidence-based practice. These are articles from evidence-based practice journals like evidence-based nursing, articles about evidence-based practice, research articles, which include systematic reviews, some meta-analysis. So it's a good way to identify what's already been done, and also commentaries on research studies. There is another filter for MEDLINE, EBM reviews, and in this case, it limits results to the following 6 titles. So Cochrane Database of Systematic Reviews, ACB Journal Club, Clinical Evidence, and so on. So basically, these publications, these apply very strict criteria in terms of the inclusion of references, evidence, and so on. So again, it's a way of narrowing down results quickly to see perhaps what's been done before, and maybe give an indication of what terms you could be searching for as well. We do have other options as well. So we have clinical queries filter. Again, another way to quickly filter results in relation to various research areas. So for CINAHL, it's therapy, prognosis, review, or qualitative research, or etiology. And for each of these research areas, there's also the high sensitivity, which is the broadest search, which would include all relevant material, high specificity, which is the most targeted search, and then the best balance between the 2. So MEDLINE has equivalent clinical queries. So this is just an example of the strategies behind each of those queries and those particular, so those research areas with those queries. So again, there is a particular search strategy designed behind each of those areas, like therapy, whether it's high sensitivity or high specificity. So these have been designed in consultation with the McMaster University in Canada, their Health Information Research Unit. They put together these search strings, these strategies to relate to these areas. Okay, and then with MEDLINE, you have additional areas like cost and economics, and also diagnosis, and they also have the relevant strategies for each of these. So again, you could cut and paste or copy and paste those search strategies and run them in the interface itself. Okay, so just to quickly illustrate how that would work. So let me just go back to my desktop here. So I'm sorry I didn't share my screen there just now, but I'll go back to that in a moment. So you should now see the results here. So I'm going to just show you the page itself. So I click new search here. You'll see we've got search boxes, and then within filters, we have got the evidence-based practice filter. So you create the search above and apply it here. You've also got clinical queries as well. Okay, so you can apply any of these research areas based for CINAHL. If you to go to MEDLINE, for example, let's just switch over here briefly. I wouldn't normally do this. You will find within MEDLINE, the filter is also EBM reviews is here as well. And also clinical queries is here also. Yes. Okay, so basically you can apply those filters to your search when you run it initially. So it may be just like initial scoping to see what's been done before, obtain references which detail some of the terms that you could be using as well. So I know we're out of time, so I just wanted to go back here to CINAHL and look at that search one more time and just talk about recent activity, because I think I may not have shared my screen there. So again, recent activity. So if I just resort these, I hope you can see that now. So this is the search query that was also saved in this area, in addition to the search history itself. And you'll see I've got the search strings here. I've got a couple of other sets now because I've rerun them, as it were. So I can just go in and delete these, as it were. Or now you can actually bulk delete. So I can select, for example, those 2 extra sets here. I can go scroll down. So as these 2 are not needed now, I can just delete those and refer to the previous set. So I've got that here, so I can click on that and bring back those results within this page. Okay, and you can see the results are there. So, and then just a reference to, sorry, Fiona, and yeah, there's a comment here about the 3 dots. You might be clicking that. Okay, I tried that and could only say next to a record, there are some dots next to the relevance options. So yes, you've got save search here, sorry, as well. But again, I come to that into the next session. So save search here, it does allow you to save the search there. Okay, and then you can edit the title here, for example. So you can clear this and you can just put adult cancer patients. I'll put and meditation. Okay, meditation, sorry. Okay, so I'll probably review this in the next session because we typically cover that when we're processing results. But again, the combined queries here, and then you would save this. Okay, and that will be stored. Save now, click close. It would be saved in the save folder on the left. Okay. Interesting, it didn't do that. Why didn't it do that? Oh, there it is. A search sequence record. So searches, of course. So it's there, right? Okay. Now you do need, I won't go into detail because we cover this in the next session. You do need to be signed into my EBSCO account to save this beyond the session. So if when I close my browser now, I would lose this. Okay. So thanks for the others who chipped in there just to explain that, just to highlight that while I missed that. So thank you for that. Okay. So that is the save search option. So again, I'll revisit that in the next session. So what I'll do now, because of time, I'll just go back to my PowerPoint and wrap up here. And again, just to highlight the importance that we are well aware of the need to support, your use of the interface in terms of systematic reviews and meeting PRISMA guidelines and so on. So again, the ability to specify what databases you're searching and also the way you searched, etc., being documented. So again, that's something which is an ongoing effort at EBSCO. And I said there are some more features coming for the new interface and the advanced search history as well. So they'll be released at some point. If you want to be updated to that in terms of what's coming soon, we do have this web page here in EBSCO Connect, which details that. That includes, by the way, the ability to save more than 50 records per page. Again, I'll touch on that in the next session, but that figure is increasing. Okay, so just to clarify then some take-home points as we wrap up here. Obviously, use PICO or alternative frameworks. There are many out there that you can use to construct search strategies. Again, you can search using free text keywords, whether it's a general unqualified search or using the title abstract option, as we saw today, combined with the source terms. Use the EBSCO syntax. That's important to make sure that your results are accurate. If you try using other provider platform syntax, you might find you get results, but the set may be rather much larger than you'd expect. So again, that wouldn't be accurate. Consider using the methodological search filters. I just briefly previewed them, explain what they do, what they are, and where you can find them. So again, that might be something you start off with to find what's out there in a kind of a broader search approach. And then obviously we do provide training support, and I've included some key documents here in relation to use of tools. I didn't detail the PICO search app. I did show you it briefly, but there is a document. There's a document there detailing that as well, and also more information about creating a proximity search. So EBSCO Connect, connect.ebsco is the place to go to. Sorry, connect.ebsco.com is the default website for support. Again, you'll find more information on there, tutorials, also FAQs as well, help sheets, aside from the ones I've shown in the slide deck. And for more, access to recordings and also for training sessions, we do have the training resources portal as well. Okay, and a quick question from Claire. When will the classic EBSCO be switched off? Good question. It was supposed to be at the end of December. That has changed. So I think it's still there in the background, but it's still there at the moment because, the NHS, for example, in England are still using Classic. So again, that's still available for some. Also moved on with the new interface as well, with the new search history. Again, if you don't have that search history displayed currently and you need help to know what to do for that, contact your local EBSCO account rep, or you can email me at rquicks@ebsco.com. Okay, there's still things going on. There's still the process of developing it further. We can make changes much more quicker because it's built on Amazon Web Server. So things can be rolled out much more quickly. There will be more changes. So again, I would check the latest updates on the EBSCO Connect site on the page I shared in the PowerPoint for that as well. But obviously, if any specific issues, please contact us. You can email our support team as well. And I'll just put the email address in the chat there. So eurosupport@ebsco.com is the default email address that you should be using. Otherwise, you can log cases in EBSCO Connect when you have an account for that. Okay, so thank you for all that input. Okay, thank you very much.